I'm calling my service dog a medical aid. So they are considered medical equipment. It's a dynamic disability, so your health is expected to go like this. I just think it's important to share with people who are close to you too that this is a thing that happens. I don't think people understand what a dynamic disability is. A few things that help me because of my health is so all over the place. Whenever I wake up in the morning, this is not limited to any specific disability, by the way. I think this is just kind of a whole thing that happens with most disabilities. Hey guys. Today I want to talk to you about dynamic disabilities and service dogs. So these are both things that are super important to me, of course, because I have a service dog and I have a dynamic disability. And I feel like both of these things are super misunderstood. So I want to take time today and talk to you about what a dynamic disability is and how my service dog helps me with this. Before we talk about what a dynamic disability is, let's talk about how a service dog can be used for a dynamic disability and how that might get a little bit weird. So if you have a dynamic disability, this means it fluctuates greatly from day to day. So whenever you have a service dog for something like that, a lot of times you may really need your service dog, and then there's a lot of times you really might not. So I feel like people who have a dynamic disability who choose to use their service dog part of the time and not part of the time get a really hard time. Especially if they are dealing with the same people over and over, because sometimes these people will see you with your service dog and, you know, they obviously understand that you have something going on, but then whenever they see you without your service dog or without your disability aid in general, then they might be like, oh, I thought you were sick. Oh, I thought you had a service dog. Oh, I thought you needed a wheelchair. Oh, I thought you needed, you know, whatever these things are. And I feel like a lot of times people don't realize how much a disability can fluctuate. So maybe today I might really need to have my dog with me whenever I go out. That might be something that I feel like, you know, maybe I've already had a panic attack. Maybe I've already dissociated today. And for somebody who uses a wheelchair, you know, maybe they're having a day where they really are too dizzy to stand. Maybe they have some leg cramps going on. Maybe there's a reason physically that they do need their wheelchair that day, where maybe a day later, maybe even that afternoon, maybe they don't need it. Maybe they have energy again. Maybe they can stand okay. Maybe their legs feel okay. You know, so it really greatly depends. But the reason I talk about this is because I feel like people don't understand that. And I feel like a lot of times if you have a dynamic disability, people, and I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people tend to look at it like you're making things worse than it is whenever you do need your disability aid, or maybe even they think that you're being a liar, you know, because you don't need it all the time and sometimes you do. And this can also really make a difference too if you have someone to go with you sometimes and you don't. For example, I know of a few friends, if their husbands can go with them, they don't need their service dog because obviously their husband's gonna not let anything happen to them, right? Where they need their service dog without their husband because they pass out, or one of my friends, she gets migraines and so she can't drive. So if she is out and about with her service dog, he can let her know within plenty of time for her to get home. But if she's out with her husband, then even if she does come down with a migraine and she doesn't have time to physically get herself home, she still has a safe ride home, right? Because her husband's gonna take care of her. So having a dynamic disability and a disability aid like a service dog, wheelchair, anything like that, you know, you can have both of those things and it doesn't mean that the person's not truthful. So I just think that's really important to talk about because I think, like I said, I think a lot of people get labeled like that they're not being truthful or something because of sometimes they have a disability aid and sometimes they don't. Also, I want to point out that if you do have a service dog for your disability aid and you don't need them every single time you go out, it's still valid for you to take them every single time, even if they're not technically working every single time, as long as you do have a disability and they are task trained. And you know, maybe whenever you're going out, you're working on training or something. That's what we do. It's still okay for me to have her because I am disabled, and if I'm having a good health day, it doesn't mean that I don't need her ever again. So what we do is we take those good health days for me to, number one, just work on training with her, and also to keep her used to going out and doing things, right? Because if we don't go out and do things, she's going to, number one, forget how to behave in public. The other thing, forget her tasks. So it's just really important to always work on that stuff whenever I am feeling good. Hey guys, we want to pop in really quick and let you know about our service dog training blogs/journals that we make. There's a public access study guide, over 100 task ideas, over 145 socialization ideas and a checklist, more than 80 tricks. There's even an idea sheet for places that you can train your dog if your dog is not ready for public access yet. You can log your daily training plans, weekly training plans, monthly training plans. There's also a grooming routine tracker/planner as well as a medication tracker. There's stuff for us humans too, like self-care planning, tracking, goal tracking, project planning, and financial planning. So I'll link them above for you guys and I'll link them below as well. And now back to the show. Another thing that I kind of want to talk about too is the fact that I'm calling my service dog a medical aid and part of my medical equipment and stuff. And while that is true according to the ADA, and of course service dogs are something that is prescribed, I guess, by your doctor to help mitigate your disability, so they are considered medical equipment. But I really don't like that term because they're a living, breathing being, and of course, yes, while they are helping us and while they are a disability aid at the time, I'm Pharaby's mom, so I don't look at it like she's a piece of medical equipment, although like from a legal standpoint, you know, that is what should be considered. But I don't know, I always feel weird about calling her that, so I just wanted to clarify that even though she is a disability aid, she is still my dog and she's still my baby, and I'm still her mom. But just legally she's considered a medical aid. So whenever I'm talking about dynamic disabilities, I'm talking about having good days versus flare days. And this was kind of the going term for a really long time, is maybe a bad health day, maybe a flare-up day, something like that, where now I've kind of seen this use of the term dynamic disability being used a lot lately, and I really like that a lot because I think that kind of encompasses everything, right? So it can be a good day, it can be a bad day, it can be a flare day, it can be all of these things. It can be the best day ever, but it's a dynamic disability, so your health is expected to go like this. I just think it's important to share with people who are close to you too that this is a thing that happens, and if your disability does have ups and downs, then, you know, maybe let the people around you who are gonna possibly see you going through this realize that it is a dynamic disability. And by the way, I'm not saying you owe anyone an explanation for anything, but what I am saying is it does help whenever the people closest to you do know what is going on with you. It can help them to give you more grace, I feel like, anyway. It should, right? With dynamic disabilities, one day you might be able to do something and the next day you might not be able to. So for example, a few weeks ago, I was invited to go to a pool party with some friends. I was not well, I couldn't go. And so I had to tell them that I was dizzy, I couldn't go. And it's always awkward when that happens because I think that was maybe 2 days after the day that I had filmed the thing where I was on the monkey bar things at the park. And I always feel like a liar if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm dizzy, and then I've just shared something like that, right? Dude, I just saw you on the monkey bars yesterday. How can you not stand up today? And that does happen, and I feel like so many people don't realize that that is a true thing that actually happens, right? Where, you know, one day you literally can lift your body weight and do flips or whatever, or even just stand up, right? And then the next day, maybe you're not able to do any of that. Whenever I have a bad health day, I can't stand up to walk a lot of times. I will literally have to sit my butt on the stairs and scooch down. So because I'm dizzy and I'm just afraid of falling. Another great example of this is sometimes I can go walk miles and miles and miles and I'm fine. And then a week later, if I have to walk further than my front door, I'm literally needing to sit down. And there's nothing internally, like my stamina and like my lung capacity and stuff hasn't changed. My muscle structure hasn't changed over that amount of time. So there's no real reason for this other than it's just something to do with my disabilities. It's something that I can't control. And this happens with a lot of people. And what I also have noticed happens is if you have friends who see you whenever you're having good health days and then you also have bad health days, I've noticed that sometimes people stop inviting us to things, meaning us disabled folks, because they think that we don't want to do the thing with them, and that's not the case at all. Like, it's typically, might be, it could always be that, but I've noticed for myself anyway, I've stopped getting invited to things as much because I don't go. And the reason I don't go is because generally it just happens to fall on a day where I'm not healthy enough to go. I've got invited to do things 2 times more recently, and both times I've had to say no because I was either too tired or either dizzy. And then also, this is what happened with mine. So they were like, oh, we'll wait till tomorrow to do it so you can feel better. And so I told them not to, because the thing is, as you know, if you have a dynamic disability, then sometimes these flares last for a really long time, right? Like I've had times where I'm dizzy for literally like days and days and days, or where I'm tired to where I'll need like seriously like 14 to 16 hour sleep days every single day for like a week or 2. So I always encourage people not to change their plans to, you know, accommodate me. And so I kind of wonder if that doesn't make people feel like I don't want to do stuff, because I'm just trying to be realistic though. And I would feel really bad if everyone rearranged everything and was like, oh, we'll wait till tomorrow so you can go too. And then I'm still not able, you know what I mean? So I try to encourage friends to do things anyway, and just, you know, please invite me next time, but I can't go. And because of how my health is so like this, like tomorrow might not be good too. But I feel like it almost seems like I'm ungrateful and like don't really want to hang out, but that's not what it is. So part of the reason I'm making this too is because I don't think people understand what a dynamic disability is in my own life. But you can of course share this with your people too. So a few things that help me because of my health is so all over the place. Whenever I wake up in the morning or at the first good part of the day, I go ahead and I prepare anything that I'm going to need throughout the day. So this could be anything from my drinks, having my food figured out, like at least figure it out, even if I don't actually make it, right? Just have it figured out. Any products I need set out that don't have to be in the fridge or whatever, have everything together in the fridge or the freezer, wherever, you know what I mean? So it's easy to access, make sure I've written it down. Also, like for me, because I make those little mixed drinks, like the little sticks, the little stick drinks, like the little, what are they called? Like the little electrolyte drinks in the sticks. You know what I'm talking about. But I've started making those in a pitcher instead of individually one at a time, because I don't drink bottled water. So I have to actually take my water from the zero filter, put it in a cup, then put the powder stuff in there, then mix it, and then go get more water. And that doesn't sound like a lot, and it's really not. But whenever you're having a very bad health day, that is so many steps that honestly, I will just sit there and not drink anything. And that might sound really dramatic, but if you are having trouble standing up, I promise you, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, I don't even care. I'll just thirst to death. It's fine. I can't stand up. So what I've started doing is I've started making that kind of stuff whenever I very first wake up, if I do feel good, or just at whatever point of the day where I feel okay to stand up, right? I utilize a lot of things like Cliff Bar, which this was actually just in my pocket because I'm gonna eat it, but I eat Cliff Bars for at least breakfast every day, a lot of times lunch too, whenever I'm having a bad health day particular. So, and if you eat them like I do, then definitely purchase them in bulk. I found a pretty decent deal on Amazon, but there might be better deals other places as well. This could be anything though. This doesn't have to be Cliff Bars. This could definitely be salads, soups, anything that you could just make ahead, have already prepared, and have ready for you just to kind of grab and go. Just kind of think about it like you're packing your lunch like a little kid, like you're packing your own lunch. That one bird's excited, huh? If you are struggling like this, where one day it's really bad and one day it's not, I think it's important for you to know that that is normal with a lot of disabilities. That is very common. I struggle to believe it's real sometimes, to be honest, because it's like, how am I this exhausted? Like, for example, yesterday, y'all, I slept for 14 hours straight. We did not get up till, what, I'm asking Pharaby like she can tell time. It had to be like 1:30 or 2 whenever we got up. And today I'm okay. I didn't sleep any more than normal last night. I slept probably like 7.5 hours, like a normal amount for me. I slept good, but it wasn't anything that was super restorative, you know what I mean? Like, there was no indication whenever I went to bed last night that I would feel this good today. And today I feel great. This is not limited to any specific disability, by the way. I think this is just kind of a whole thing that happens with most disabilities. So this could be obviously psychological disabilities, physical disabilities, anything in between. I do feel like this can happen with anything. And also, especially lastly, give people with pain grace in your life too, because that is something that I feel like a lot of people who have pain, I'm fortunate I don't struggle with pain. I have family members who are in pain and they are in constant pain, but there are some days that are worse pain. So just because, you know, and that's a dynamic disability too. So your dynamic disability might be that it never, ever, ever completely subsides, but it might have worse days. So leave a comment below and let me know, number one, did you know dynamic disabilities was a thing? And also, what questions do you have around dynamic disability? Also, others in the comments might have answers for you and tips and tricks where we can help each other. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I hope this was informative and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.